pay, inconvenience millions of Americans, and create chaos at airports all across the country. This could end and should end today. There is a bipartisan bill that has been sent over from the Senate that would reopen the non-controversial parts of the Department of Homeland Security, make sure TSA agents are paid, and end the chaos at airports throughout the nation. The bipartisan bill sent over by the Senate has been supported by every single Democrat and every single Republican as it made its way over to the House of Representatives. House Democrats are prepared to support the bill to end the Trump Republican shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Make sure TSA agents are paid. Stand up for FEMA, and for the Coast Guard, and for our cybersecurity professionals. And stop inconveniencing Americans, which is being intentionally done by Donald Trump and House Republican extremists. Why is this happening? Many Americans are asking. Because House Republicans have decided that they would rather inconvenience you, create chaos for you and for your families, so that they can continue to jam their extreme right-wing ideology down the throats of the American people. So they can continue to spend billions of dollars for ICE to brutalize and kill American citizens, as we've seen horrifically in the case of Anita Colgood and Alex Credit. Our views on immigration enforcement are the views of the American people. Immigration enforcement should focus on violent felons who are in this country illegally, not target law-abiding immigrant families or brutalize and in some cases kill American citizens. Your taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for you and for your family. And that's what Democrats are going to continue to fight to accomplish. The only thing standing right now between the chaos that is taking place at airports all across the country and the American people and making sure you are no longer inconvenienced are House Republicans. That's the only thing standing. Right now, as we approach Easter and Passover, with chaos breaking out all over the country, TSA agents being forced to work without pay, week after week after week. And now we have this bipartisan bill sent over by the Senate that House Democrats are prepared to support. If that bill is brought to the floor today, it will pass. And the Trump Republican DHS shutdown will be over.
What's up? How you doing? I don't know how to say your name correctly, so
MAGA
I'm not going to say it. But what's up?
In the House of Representatives continue to inflict pain on the American people. It's now my honor to yield to the House Democratic Whip, my good friend and colleague from the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Catherine Clark.
Thank you so much, Mr. Leader, and good afternoon, everyone. There's no reason for TSA to be shut down. There's no reason for FEMA and our Coast Guard to still be unfunded. There's no reason for travelers to be waiting in absurdly long lines. We could have voted today, yesterday, last week, last month, to open every part of Department of Homeland Security that actually keeps Americans secure. That's what we've been fighting for weeks. That is what the Senate passed unanimously this morning. But House Republicans refuse to take yes for an answer. In fact, Mike Johnson said that this bill is a joke. That's another classic we can add to their lines about how they feel about the American people and what they are going through right now. We can add it to affordability is a hoax. Donald Trump on gas prices going up $1 a gallon. When they rise, they rise. I will declare no new wars if elected president. And the impact of all of this on consumers is the last of our concerns. None of this is a joke. All of this has real world consequences for American families. And the same day that they're refusing to fund our cybersecurity, they learned that Iran has hacked the director of the FBI. Republicans won't fund TSA or FEMA.
Almost literally a year later from the biggest national security leak in American history, and Iran gets through our systems.
What's more important to them than anything else? Funding ICE and the paramilitary force that they have turned into. So if you've ever doubted for a moment how craven the House Republicans really are, today you have your answer. And with that, I will turn it over to our amazing House Chairman, our friend and colleague, Pete Aguilar.
Thanks, Whip Clark. Thank you, Leader Jeffries. House Democrats have been clear from the start. We must pay TSA, Coast Guard, and FEMA and other public safety agencies while we negotiate common sense reforms for ICE. Weeks ago, we put forward legislation that would do just that and outlined a list of changes that we knew we wanted to see in ICE to make our communities safer. Democrats held firm in our position and never gave in. And as a result, you saw early this morning, Senate Republicans agree with our approach. But now Speaker Johnson is calling this bipartisan agreement
Democratic Hakeem Jeffries
to Trump's
and these two
control ICE agency. Think about it. After witnessing
House Democrat leaders call for an end to airport chaos.
About TSA agents quitting or picking up second jobs or sleeping in their cars, this is the response that Mike Johnson has. This isn't a joke, as the whip said. These are real people's lives. And there's only one reason, one real solution to end this shutdown, and that's passing this bipartisan DHS funding package today. Republicans cannot continue to hold funding for airport security, disaster assistance, and response for the Coast Guard hostage because they want an out-of-control ICE that brutalizes our communities, detains children, and kills U.S. citizens. Republicans know they need Democratic votes in order to pass this. They can't keep ignoring our calls to rein in ICE. The American people elected us to make their lives better, not worse. We have the opportunity to do that now. And with this bipartisan bill, we urge our Republican colleagues to do the right thing, put this bill on the floor.
Our message to Mike Johnson and House Republicans is clear. Paying TSA agents, reopening the Department of Homeland Security, ending the chaos, and stopping the inconvenience for millions of Americans all across the country is no joking matter. It is serious. You should take your responsibility serious. Bring this bipartisan bill to the floor today so we can end the nonsense, end the chaos, and actually start doing the type of things that the American people want us to focus on, which is making their life more affordable in an environment where Donald Trump and Republicans have made life more expensive in the United States of America. Questions?
What is your position on the Republican process?
Our position remains the same. There is a bipartisan bill that every single senator, Democrats and Republicans, have supported that has the votes to pass today to reopen the Department of Homeland Security, to pay TSA agents, and to end the chaos at airports all across the country that Republicans have been inflicting on the American people for weeks. That's the legislation that should be brought to the floor.
You said that the House Democrats support is by the Republicans already teed up a resolution that would prove ICE. Leader King said the ship has sailed for felons. Why would that support that?
The ship has not sailed as it relates to making sure that there are dramatic changes that are brought about to ICE that are bold, meaningful, comprehensive, and transformative. Why do we know that? Because we've heard the ship has sailed from Republicans throughout the last 15 months. We were told the ship has sailed on releasing the Epstein files. Donald Trump said last April or May, it's over. But House Democrats stayed on the case. It's not over. We passed legislation that has forced them today to release Remain documents, and we're going to continue to stay on the case. We were told throughout the 43-day Trump Republican government shutdown that our demand to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits on the terms that made sense for working class families was dead on arrival, and that it would never happen in the House of Representatives. Guess what? In January, it happened in the House of Representatives. And we were joined by 17 Republicans, and every single House Democrat passed a 3-year straightforward extension to the Affordable Care Act tax credits. It's part of our effort to protect the health care of more than 20 million Americans. We can give you example after example after example where the ship had allegedly sailed with respect to our efforts to fight to make life better for the American people. And our position remains the same. We continue to be in every single fight on behalf of the American people until we win that fight.
How will you get everything in the House?
There are a variety of different legislative vehicles available to us. I'll yield to Catherine. We, of course, have been successful in this Congress over the last few months in advancing 3 different discharge petitions forcing up or down votes on legislation demanded by the American people, including most recently on extending the Affordable Care Act tax credits. We have a discharge petition that is live right now. All we need are a handful of House Republicans to join us, and we can force an up or down vote to end this Republican Trump shutdown of TSA, of the Coast Guard, of FEMA, and of our cybersecurity professionals. And we will pursue every available avenue to us to get something done bipartisan. But what's in front of us right now is a bipartisan bill sent over from the Senate, passed unanimously. All 100 senators supporting this bipartisan bill. And if it's brought to the floor today, it will pass. And we can end the nightmare that Donald Trump and Republicans are inflicting upon the American people at airports all across the country in advance of Easter and Passover.
As Leader Jeffries said, we have a discharge petition that has been active and live. And what they are saying is not only rejecting the bipartisan bill, but they know this is a continuation of the shutdown because the Senate is gone. The Senate is gone. So they know fully well what they're doing. They're saying we want the status quo, that we are so eager to keep ICE going exactly as they're operating in their reckless and unlawful and violent way. That's our priority over that of the American people. And the other portions that this bipartisan bill would have funded are important to the security of our country. And it's beyond TSA workers who should never have had to go without a single paycheck. But what about our cybersecurity experts? What about the Coast Guard? What about those people who work in our ports and our customs? What about FEMA that this administration has been dismantling and now wants to continue to allow to be unfunded? I mean, it is hard to take in the level of how far House Republicans have come to be removed from the people who sent them here to govern on their behalf. It is such a betrayal of their own voters and of the American people in total.
Thank you. Could we get your reaction to Republicans talking about pursuing other reconciliation bill on funding for ICE, funding for maybe the Iran war, something like that, and possibly elements to say that? What impact do you think this will have on your message to voters?
It's incredible to me that Republicans are considering trying to jam part 2 of the one big ugly bill down the throats of the American people. Let's review again what part 1 was all about. In part 1 of the Republican one big ugly bill, they ripped away Medicaid from 14 million Americans, with the largest cut to Medicaid, almost $1 trillion in American history. At the same period of time, in part 1 of the one big ugly bill, Republicans enacted a $186 billion cut to nutritional assistance. These extremists literally have ripped food out of the mouths of hungry children, seniors, and veterans. And why did they do that? At least 2 reasons. To provide massive tax breaks to their billionaire Republican donors, and then to create a $75 billion slush fund. That's right, America. Republicans, in their one big ugly bill, created a $75 billion slush fund so that taxpayer dollars could be used to brutalize and kill American citizens. That's what Democrats object to, because we're fighting for working families, for everyday Americans, and for middle-class America. The notion that these extremists would try to jam a second so-called budget reconciliation bill, part 2 of the one big ugly bill, down the throats of the American people, why would they do it? To continue ICE brutality, and at the same time, provide up to $200 billion to support Donald Trump's reckless war of choice in the Middle East. Republicans would rather unleash ICE brutality and drop bombs by spending billions of dollars a day in the Middle East than actually make life more affordable for the American people in an environment where this country is far too expensive. The cost of living is far too high as a result of failed Republican policies. And now they're doubling and tripling down on it. I can say without reservation that the one big ugly bill, part 2, spending billions of taxpayer dollars, perhaps to rip healthcare away some more from the American people, while funding this reckless war of choice and continuing to unleash ICE brutality of the American people, will not get a single Democratic vote.
Question. You have said multiple times in this book that you want to see a legislative fix for ICE. You don't get over from the Senate last. Why are any Democrats on board with this? Because it lacks that legislative fix regarding.
We've been very clear. The taxpayer dollars should be spent to make life more affordable for the American people. We want ICE to be compelled to conduct itself like every other cop, police officer, and law enforcement agency in the country. Immigration enforcement in America should be fair, just, and humane. That's not what's happening right now. And the American people know that ICE is out of control, and they're demanding changes that are bold, transformative, and meaningful, while at the same time anchored in common sense. Now, this bill that has been sent over from the Senate in a bipartisan way, that House Democrats are ready to embrace separates out ICE funding and separates out funding for the Trump Republican violent mass deportation machine. So we are prepared to support it while continuing to fight on behalf of the American people to get ICE under control. That's why it's not that complicated. It's because Senate Republicans have at least recognized that it's time for them to stop holding TSA agents and the American people hostage.
I agree with what the leader says. I think it's incredibly unfortunate, the position that Senate Republicans have waited this long to understand what House Democrats have said, which is we want a bipartisan solution. Now, the policies that the leader and Senator Schumer sent over are incredibly important, and we don't believe that ICE should get funding until we achieve those policy changes. Neither of that happens. ICE doesn't get its funding, and the policy changes we will continue to discuss and debate. But the important thing for the American people is TSA will get funded, FEMA will get funded, Coast Guard will get funded. Individuals who work for the federal government will be held harmless, which has been our position for weeks. We've stood at this podium and we've said, this is what we want. We want to isolate and have a discussion about ICE and Border Patrol. We want to ensure that their bad actions do not receive more money so they can't brutalize our communities. And we want them, above all else, to have rules, just like our local police officers, just like our local police agencies do. That's what this has been about. And then we have a bipartisan agreement, not just bipartisan, unanimous agreement, where 100 senators were given an opportunity to object, and not a single one objected. That's the type of solution that we believe we can gravitate around. And unfortunately, Mike Johnson doesn't believe that that's enough of a solution because he wants more brutality in our communities.
Thank you. So John Thune, in his statement on the bill last night, one of the things he pointed out is he believes that Democrats have once again established themselves as the open borders and defund the police party heading into an election. Do you believe that Mike Johnson is not having his Republicans vote on this bill because he wants the election message to be against you guys as the defund police open borders party and use that as an attack in the election?
You know, Mike Johnson is really struggling right now. They have a new message every week. But you know what also is happening? Republicans have been losing elections for the last 15 consecutive months, over and over and over again, including in deep red places like Texas, Louisiana, and most recently in Florida. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump will now be represented at Mar-a-Lago by a Democrat in a district that he previously won by double digits. Make no mistake, Republicans are falling apart. When are they going to learn their lesson that the American people are rejecting their extremism and actually want Congress to focus on making life better for everyday Americans? That's what Democrats are continuing to do. We're fighting to lower the high cost of living, to fix our broken healthcare system, to clean up corruption, to get ICE under control, to end the chaos at airports, to stop this reckless war of choice, and to actually focus on the things that matter. The American people know Republican priorities have nothing to do with making their life better and everything to do with jamming their extreme and radical right-wing ideology down the throats of the American people. And Exhibit A today is the fact that House Republicans are rejecting a bipartisan bill supported by 53 Republican senators that would end the chaos at the airports, pay TSA, and stop inconveniencing millions of Americans. Thank you.